All right, Scott, we're going to hear the stories about some of the horses in your barn, but first, let's hear your story. How did you get into racing?
Got into racing. Well, I grew up in Oxon Hill area. Used to go out to track all the time. My dad took me over when I was a kid. Um, a couple brothers, we all went over there and hung out, and I just kind of got interested in it. Dabbled with it for a while. Didn't really do anything major, and then in the last couple of years at Garden State, I spent a couple summers up there working in the barn areas and stuff, and picking up things and learning to jog and things like that. And went and got a trainer's license. Went into hibernation for a while I was working on other projects and stuff, and then I ended up in Virginia, and I had a couple of people, Leon Harris and Elwood Tigner and them guys. They walked in my restaurant. George Filion, just kind of got hooked up doing work with them, and I didn't realize it, but Leon was like a mile right down my house, literally a mile, his stable, and the horses were, and I was over running the restaurant. I go over in the morning, jog a couple horses, bought a few, did this, did that, and then boom, next thing you know, I had like 10 or 12 of them. So it just kind of took over.
Yeah, it's something you don't hear very often, you being a first generation. Usually it's second, third, sometimes fourth generation. So let's talk about some horsepower in your barn. And we will start with your beep beep horses. So let's begin with the mom, okay? So let's start with Beep Beep Bye Bye. Is that her name?
Yeah. Beep beep bye bye. I only give $8,500 for like free off of BL Conway down in Abington, Virginia. We went down there to look at one, and we left with three. And she was one of them, and she was a little on the small side, but pretty little trotter, you know. So we just got to working with her, and she had a little bit of trot. And when she put it together at the end of her 3-year-old season, she went on to do well for us. I raced her up till she was 7. She dropped the suspensory. I threw her out in the field for a whole year. I didn't pay much attention, you know, to her. She was at D-Line Weaver's place down in Woodstock. And after she was getting feisty, took a bite at the one daughter, so she said, hey, come and get her. And I decided while I was down there, I ran her up to the hospital. They said she was pretty clean, you know. So we went back to training. And she had the best year of her career, probably. She won like 6, 8 races that year, won the age trotters in Virginia. I gave her a couple of months off, started training her back, and I trained her down to 13. In the meantime, Yankee Roldie was out in the field, so I put her out there with her, and she caught. And then I just stopped, and then of course she has this a little horse we come up with, Beep Beep, Royal Beep Beep is his name. And between going to Virginia and back, I gave her to Jason to train, and when I come back, I said, "You want to give him back, or you want to keep him?" He said, "I like her." You know, I said, "Well, I didn't keep her because I had 12 horses in the barn, or keep him." And the rest is history. He went on to have a great, 2-year-old season for us.
So what's it like training horses for your wife?
Um, you know, she likes the babies, raising the babies at home, and then, I find them, and she lets me do my thing, and it's a 30-year partnership. We've been through a lot of stuff together, so she gets pretty excited. She doesn't really, give me a hard time about what they do or don't do. She's always pretty optimistic with them,
Yeah, she is. She's a very optimistic person. So let's talk about actually Baltimore Beauty first, because you guys just got her recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I picked her up about 4 weeks ago offline. Just happens that Joe Humphrey Fund had her, so I didn't have to go far to pick her up. I like American ideas, so that's what attracted her to me. And then, of course, I got Baltimore Jack in the barn, so people think I got a Baltimore thing going, because I spent a lot of time in Baltimore, too. But she's been a great addition to the barn. I haven't missed a check with her. She's not, she's everything Joe said she was: easy keeper, goes about her business.
And Baltimore Jack, we'll move on to him because actually we know that they are not related because actually Baltimore Jack is from New Zealand and Baltimore Beauty is not. So
Yeah.
how'd you get by Baltimore Jack?
Baltimore Jack came through me through Kim Vincent, but he come over. I believe Eric Hill and Kenny Wood picked her up. They had her first, and him first, and it was a nutcase. You know, he broke up some jaw carts, and so he ended up over at Kim's, and he was doing the same stuff. He was, you know, he turned a jogger or two over and flipped the jaw cart, and Kim was just like, look, I got too many babies. You know, you want this horse? And I said, yeah, I'll give him a try. And he just eventually turned around. He's doing a few bad things for me, but now he's like the mainstay in the stable just because all the girls love him. I put him out with any horse. You know.
He's a kitten now.
Yeah,
he is literally the nicest, sweetest horse. It's crazy. He has turned around.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe he's going to be a riding horse one day.
Now, let's move on to the final horse we're going to talk about, and that is Leroy Skipping School. And he has another story that's super great.
Yeah, he was a 2-year-old that raced a little bit in Virginia. He couldn't really go like 2.8, 2.10. He wasn't no good. And then they brought him back as a 3-year-old, but he ended up in an Amish show in Virginia somehow. And a friend of mine that I have horses with, Danny Chansky, calls me and says, hey, do you know this horse? And I said, well, buy the horse, you know. And of course, I said, buy him, I'll try him. I trained him at the farm a couple of times, and the first time, I was like, man, he just doesn't want to do this. So Declan Donaway was on the farm. I said, Declan, we go down to Virginia, you know, I want you to qualify this horse when you come down. So he did. He qualified him in like 2 minutes. He said, man, you really turned this horse around. I said, I don't know. I think hopefully I made him happy. He races. He gives you what he's got. This is his 3rd year in the barn, and he races. He's you know, he's not a superstar, but he's solid. So, and of course he's going to go back to Virginia this year and race in the certified programs and stuff that, you know, go for a little bit of money. So it's fun when you get one like that and can turn it around. And me personally, I look and see what I can do, you know, hopefully do with a horse, and you know, where it fits and what it can do. And so far I've been lucky doing it. Pretty good.
Well, good luck with your Baltimores and with your Beep Beeps. And we'll see Royal Beep Beep in the DSBF races, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, he's back jogging and training. We didn't rush him. We want to give him a good solid 3 months off, and that's what we did. You know, and hopefully he has a nice, you know, 3-year-old campaign. He's got a lot of work ahead of him all the way up until December. So.
All righty. Well, thank you, Scott, for being on the show.
You're welcome.